slander.
Yeah.
That's just a lie.
Yeah.
Nice shirt.
Slander means thanks. I was I was tempted to just start taking this off and just keep until you said something.
I would have been like, what?
Oh, that's not what we're doing today? Oh, yeah, that's next week, Daniel.
Wrong podcast. Wrong podcast. That's the one you do with Raymond. What's going on, man? I love a little ASMR in the morning to start my podcast off.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
I mean, even if you don't know the acronym, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, like it's. I know what it is. You just made me realize I don't know what it means. Or I guess like audio. I'm assuming it's like audio stimulative something. Basically, it's
Masterful remedies.
Yeah, that's it. It's like these people who, like put.
Oh, like Foley. I think, is that what it's called? Foley? Like when they have all these random objects and they make it in front of a.
Well, yeah, they'll like click their nails. Like girls will do like makeup tutorials, but with ASMR where they like click their nails on the vials or they like whisper into the mic. Stuff like that. It's supposed to be like for people who like enjoy it. It's supposed to be like really relaxing.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. No, that's not what I was talking about. Foley is like sound effects for movies and animation. Where they find random objects.
I've seen those videos too. Those are really cool.
I think it's called Foley, but I could be way wrong.
I don't know on that one. I've always just called it like sound effects, but
yeah. All right.
Foley.
Excuse me. Okay. Should we do an intro now?
Yeah. Welcome to Screen. Okay.
Wait.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Screen Woven. We finally found a name.
That's true. Actually, Grok did.
Well,
I don't know if we're supposed to say that.
Grok helped us. I mean, that's probably going to immediately make some of you throw up in your mouth, but it is what it is. I think Daniel and I firmly agree that used correctly, AI is a tool, not a replacement for creativity, but a tool to help it. So we used it to help us with a name because every name we thought of was already in use, and we had like 20. So
yeah,
we tried, but we really did like Screen Woven. You can see the new backdrop here that Daniel finally got figured out. That only took him all day.
Well, if they're listening, they can't see it.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah. If you are listening, feel free to go check us out on YouTube, and give the video version a shot. But yeah, welcome to the new episode. Glad we got a title that I think we're going to officially be able to stick with. Happy tax season to those who celebrate. I finally, my wife and I finally got ours done, so that's good to be done with.
Yeah.
And yeah, so now it's full throttle into the year and movie season, baby.
Heck yeah, boy.
It's springtime is showing a little leg out here in South Carolina, as they say. So we're
says that?
I don't know, but like I started seeing it on the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like spring.
I thought you were just making that up.
No, I wish. I thought it was clever. I was like, that's especially out here because it goes so back and forth of like, it'd be spring for like a week, then it'll get cold again.
Yeah.
But I think we're officially kind of creeping into springtime, which means we're coming up on summer, which means movies.
Movie.
So I'm really excited.
Can we just go back and me not do that? Because
I wanted to just go back and make that the intro. Hey, everybody. Movie.
What we'll do is we'll create an episode that's just a compilation of just your laughs and me doing stuff like that.
And your little isms.
Yeah.
Your Daniel isms. All right. Yeah, that'll work. That'll probably be our most viewed episode. Knowing our luck.
I don't want to hear you guys talk. I just want to see you do dumb stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that is the internet.
Yeah, to be fair.
We could just make a TikTok account. That's where all the dumb stuff goes.
That's very true. I could just probably pull up my phone and just go, and I would get like a gajillion more views.
Probably. But yeah, so we just, I think today we're just going to kind of have a casual chit chat as we approach movie season about some that we're looking forward to and the like. I think I'm going to let Daniel maybe gush a bit if he wants to on the new Daredevil, which I have not seen. So it won't be anything super, super duper in depth, but I know he was excited about it. So if you wanted to say any words on what you've seen, have you seen all 3 episodes?
Yeah, I'm not happy.
Oh.
No.
I'm just I was going to say, well, that changed a lot from when you texted.
Well, I never told you I was happy. I just told you my jaw was on the floor.
Well, that's true.
Because I was shocked at what they did.
Oh.
But I'm not,
okay.
I am like, the show has been a constant, like, super cool and then really big letdown.
Ugh.
So, like, it's I don't know how to feel about it. And it's only 3 episodes in. They're only releasing one every week.
Right.
Which
yeah.
I hate that. I understand
really?
Yeah, I hate that so much. What's the point of it? That's the whole thing that sold streaming services in the first place. And now they're like, whoops, we actually can't make money. That was like what everyone was telling me when Netflix first started streaming. They were like, dude, you can just watch the whole thing. You don't have to wait for a week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say...
And they sounded exactly like that.
Man, you do a solid impression of all your friends. I know that's how I talk when I talk to you.
It's true. Everyone knows it. That sounded like Trump. Everyone knows
Actually,
it.
according to what we said before this, I have a little girl voice, so you can watch the whole thing, man.
That sounded like Mickey Mouse.
Anyway, I mean, my understanding, which I was really late to the whole streaming thing. My only experience with like Netflix for the longest time was my girlfriend at the time in high school. Her family had it. My parents never got it, and I mean, even now that I own just about every streaming service, like I have an account on just about every major one, they still don't really use it. So I mean, they just never were big on movies and stuff. But my whole understanding for the long, like when it first started getting popular, especially Netflix, was the appeal was, well, you can watch movies from the comfort of your home. I was like, okay.
Yeah, but DVDs already did that.
Well, that was why for me it was not that big. Like that's why I was so late to it, because I love to go buy DVDs anyway, and I have my own little collection. So I was like, why would I want to do the streaming thing? And by the way, I'm gonna very severely divert here.
Okay,
but we'll come back to this because this platform is teeny tiny right now. I know it's not huge, but it is a platform.
It's like an average sized chair.
Yeah, well, that's. I know you're making a joke about the chair, but not our podcast. Not yet. It's not an average chair. It's a kiddie stool right now. Yeah. But maybe one day, maybe with this episode, who knows? It blows up, and if and when it does, which is our hope and dream, I want this to have been said on it. I am a huge advocate for this move and this push to please anybody who listens to this podcast, who you enjoy stories and storytelling and books in particular, and even in the vein of streaming and watching shows and movies. Please do your best to find other avenues to invest your time and money into these things other than just the most convenient, which is usually like 99% of the time Amazon. Please. I'm hearing more and more and more talk on the BookTube and BookTok sphere of all these people who are getting rid of Kindles and moving to this Kobo e-reader thing and stopping the ebooks altogether and going more and more to bookstores, even though it's more expensive because, Amazon does this thing where apparently because they are so large and they have their hands in so many pies that they can operate certain sections of their company at a loss to purposely try and kill off competition so that once they're no longer around, they can then do whatever they want, ramp up their prices like crazy. And it's already been seen with, I don't remember the name of the main competitor they had, but it was a baby diaper thing. And Amazon started doing diapers, and they sold them so cheap. They were literally taking a loss on them to get rid of this other competitor. And then as soon as they were gone, they bought them out and ramped up their diaper prices like crazy. And
Yeah.
It's happening. Like people are saying left and right. It is happening right now with books.
Yeah, 100%. It shouldn't even be legal because monopolies are against the law.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I don't know how, but like this is actually one of the things that like people are saying it's a good time for the indie artist, like the indie author and the indie. I don't actually fully think it is. The reason that they say that is because all the power used to be held by the record labels and the publishers and all these people who had these big barriers to entry into the thing that you wanted to do. And now you can just do it yourself, upload your own book to Amazon, and if people like it, they'll read it. But the problem is, instead of having like 10 to 20 different record labels that are running the mainstream music, because it used to be like, especially when I was in high school, you had major record labels and indie record labels and then some record labels in between for all different kinds of genres. So there was a lot of avenues still. But now what it's come down to is, yeah, every artist doesn't need a label anymore, but they're completely dependent on Spotify. Every single artist. It's all gotten shrunk down to one. Spotify has actually been, from my understanding, fairly decent toward artists. So they're not like, it's not like they're doing the Amazon type thing.
Right.
But they definitely have a monopoly on the music industry.
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, their only real competitor is Apple Music.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Jay-Z tried to open up Tidal, but I don't even know if that's still running. Much less is it nearly on the level of Spotify or Apple Music. Not that you're going to hear me complain that a billionaire couldn't get his streaming service, up there, and it might be doing fine. I don't know. I don't have like numbers on it, but yeah, I agree with you. It's similar. It just worries me because I've been telling people for a long time, and this is kind of what made me think of this, is the streaming thing is where all this started for me. I was constantly going to like Best Buy and Target and Walmart and things like that and just buying up like DVDs like crazy, especially like going through little $5 bins and stuff. And I would leave most times with like a stack of DVDs. And it was really fun. And I still have them. And I still sometimes buy, if there's a specific one that comes out that I like, or if I just see one that's on a good deal, I might snatch it up here and there. I don't do it as much as I used to. But people used to kind of not critique that, but they would question it. Well, why would you do that? I mean, there's Netflix, Prime, like it's only gotten easier and easier to have these movies just, on your TV at home.
Yeah.
And cheaper. I mean, usually it's cheaper. Like I can rent a movie on Prime for like $2 and have it for a day or two. And a lot of them you can even buy for $3, $4, $5. And I mean, especially if they're older.
Dude,
movies.
You must have a different Amazon account than I do, because like the cheapest movies I've found on there are like $15.
Well, I mean, are they
and
newer?
Renting is So you're just saying like old.
Well, yeah, like I mean, if I'm saying like if there's a movie, like I'm thinking in the vein of something that would be in a $5 bin at Walmart that's been out for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a year, but just wasn't as popular, but I liked it. You could go on Prime and probably get that for a few bucks.
Sure.
And that's fine. That's fine and dandy. My thing is, especially with the book thing, print, I think, has been an industry in decline now for a good chunk of our lifetime. I mean, I'm not going to say when we were in like elementary school, but especially ever since like smartphones and tablets and higher end laptops, like things like that. As soon as PCs became like a household thing, like everyone had a home computer, I think that's when it started. And from there, it's only gotten worse because technology's only gotten better. So, you've always had your subset of people, me being one of them, who like is just a sucker for holding a book or holding a newspaper or like things like that. But in general,
you still read the newspaper?
No.
Okay.
I am not one of those. I'm just saying, you got people who just still want to hold the newspaper. But I mean, I'm not going to take this into a whole other kind of conversation, but just as an example, I mean, you got a lot of like even look in church. A lot of people just have their Bible on their phone now, or bring in a little tablet or what. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, it's not, it's literally in everything. And it just kind of, it freaks me out because I was so ignorant to it and it was so in my face. And then now that I've heard these few people be like speaking out about it on TikTok and YouTube, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's a good. I never thought about that because like that's really happened with me where I went to like Books a Million and saw like, for example, I've told you I've never read or watched the Lord of the Rings. I really, really wanted to because I mean, as someone who's been getting more and more into fantasy, I know that's like a classic and I really want to read it. And I found this beautiful, beautiful special edition printing with like sprayed edge pages. They're like red and it's like a gray cover with all the little symbols on it from the, I mean, it's a beautiful book. Got little maps and stuff in there that you can take out. And it was like, I don't know, like $70. I mean, it was crazy expensive, but it has all 3 books in it. And I bought it and I took it home and I sat on it for a little bit and I was like, ugh, it's too much. It's too much for a book. So I took it back and I told my wife about it and she looked it up online and she found the same exact book, same printing and everything on Amazon for like less than half. It was like $30. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a crazy deal. I was like, I should get that. I should get it. And I never did, thank goodness. And I did end up getting it later as a gift. My wife actually went back later and got it for me as a gift, which was really nice. But I started thinking more about it. And I, like, when this was going, I was like, oh my gosh, that's why they can do that. Like, they probably are taking a little bit of a loss selling it that cheap. But if they do that with enough books over time and people stop getting them from the Books of Millions and the Barnes and Nobles of the world, yeah, I mean, you know, eventually they could sell it for $80-$90. And what are you going to do about it? If you want that book, that copy of that book, and they could do it with the normal books if they wanted. I mean, they could do whatever they want. So, and really a lot of this outrage sparked because apparently they made a new thing now that if you have like a Kindle, you can no longer download the file of, like, if you bought a book on Kindle, you used to be able to download it. You could just have it. You could upload it to other e-readers or have it on your computer or whatever. And they stopped that. They put up these blocks now where you can't do that. So basically saying you don't, even if you spend money on this, you don't own a copy of it. Yeah. So a lot of people got like really upset. So that's kind of sparked this whole new thing or whatever. But I just wanted to say my piece on that because we were talking about streaming and you know, a lot of that conversation is going to delve into convenience and preference and whatever. And I said this a long time ago to people. I stand by it today. The bottom line for me is streaming will never, ever, ever take the place of going to a movie theater. A lot of people think that that's stupid. They don't like the theaters. I get it. But my thing is, it's easy to not like something when it's always been available. I think the second that like the 2 main chains I still know of, if not the only ones, is Regal and AMC. And I think both of them have been struggling probably since before COVID, but especially when that hit and they weren't getting any business for a while, that really hurt them. And I don't know that they've ever really recovered. And I think the second that one or both of those go under and all these places throughout the country, if not the world, lose access to being able to go to a theater, all of a sudden it's gonna be like, oh man, I miss the theaters. Like, I know you do, because you know, you thought you hated it because it's something you always could do. It wasn't special.
In movie theaters' defense, I mean, not movie theaters, in consumers' defense, theaters charge out the wazoo for snacks and stuff, partly because that's how they make most of their money. They don't really make any money off of the ticket sales. Right.
That's true.
I don't really know exactly how it works though. I mean, does a movie company like pay to have their theater host the movie or something? I don't know how any of that works, but
I think it's, from what I understand, I think it's more like a theater pays the company to show a movie there.
Oh, so the theater has to pay to show a movie.
I think. And then the ticket sales, the reason they say they don't really make any money on that is because they're recouping for paying to have the movie there. So their profit really comes in at the concession stand, is what I've always understood. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I've always understood.
Well, I've heard similar things. I haven't heard it in all those specifics, but I've basically heard similar things. But my thing is like that, just I go out of my way to not get something at the theater. Some people go out of their way to get stuff because they want to help the theater, but I go out of my way not to, because it's like, it's just so overpriced. It's crazy. And then they don't let you bring snacks into the theater with them. So I think that they need to they need to get creative and find a more clever way to make money while they're there.
I think they have.
What are some different ways that they've done that?
Well, okay, so like for example, first I'm gonna say two things.
Just one.
Okay, hang on, let me pick. So last night, and I was gonna bring this up anyway, but I guess this is a decent segue into it. So last night I did go to a movie with my wife.
Yeah.
She knows I am a huge Looney Tunes fanatic, so we went and saw the new Looney Tunes movie that like no one knows about because Warner Brothers, I think, intentionally didn't promote it very well. But it's called Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up. Pretty funny movie. Had a good time. We went and we got a bottle of water, a Gatorade, 2 packs of candy, and a small popcorn. And it was $40.
Jeez.
I mean, 38 and some change, but $40. So I say that to say, I don't think you're wrong. I do think that stuff is way overpriced. But here's my flip side to that. And it's kind of two parts. One, like you said, you don't have to get it. You know, it'd be different if they were like, oh, okay, you're here for your movie. All right, it'll be down that way. Please make your mandatory trip to the concession to buy one item before you go in. I mean, you don't have to get a popcorn or a water or whatever. I mean, yeah, some people feel like they do. Like some people are like, oh, I have to have some kind of snack to.
That's a moot point for the one I was trying to make. But
what you mean?
Like the point that I'm making is, if they want to make money doing it, they're gonna have to find a more clever way to do it, because people like me don't get stuff at the concession stand.
And that's my other kind of prong to this. But my one side of it is, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think that it's as big a deal as people make it, because I'm not gonna say it's not a valid point, because it is overpriced stuff, but it's not that big a deal because you don't have to get it. Like, I mean, you really don't. Matter of fact, I know plenty of people.
But again, that's a moot point. Like, people aren't going to get it. They need to make money to stay afloat.
I know.
Like,
what I'm saying is, I'm going to get to that side of it. But okay. my point is, on the side of it, that it's even an argument at all that, well, that stuff's overpriced. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to get it. Like, yes, it is overpriced, and they have that and a newer way that they're going about it to make more money that I'll touch on in a second. But my thing is, for people who even bring that up, saying that that's like a reason they don't go to the theater, or a reason that the theaters are ridiculous or whatever. I mean, you don't have to do it. And on top of that, I know plenty of people who sneak food in the theaters all the time. Yeah, no problem.
They do, but they're not supposed to. I mean, people would.
Yeah.
When you say you're not allowed to bring outside snacks in, like, and then you charge that much, it just makes you look greedy. If people don't know your business plan, it looks like you're just trying to screw people out of being able to make all this money. I mean, like Carowinds does the same thing. Like a theme park, it's like you go to eat there, they know that you're not going to want to leave the entire theme park and go to a place somewhere, so they just boost the prices up on food and stuff. Like, yeah. I hate stuff like, and everyone hates stuff like that. I mean, if it works for Carowinds, so they keep doing it. Well, but they also make money on the ticket sales.
I'll give you a place like Carowinds. I think that's insane. The last time I went to Carowinds.
Well, but my point is because of places like that, people have that impression when they go into theaters. Like, it makes you look greedy. It makes you look like you're just trying to raise prices just because you can.
I get what you, and they are. I mean, I'm not arguing that that's not the case. I mean, that is the case. They are doing it because A, they can, and B, they have to. And yeah, I'm with you. I think if you don't know the business plan, and I don't think you should have to know someone's business plan, like that shouldn't be required learning or whatever. But I mean, if you don't, yeah, it looks a certain way. My thing is, to get to the other prong of my point here, is that they've done this new thing. I'm sure you've seen. I think we saw it when we went to go see Captain America. They're doing the whole thing now with the popcorn buckets and the cups and all this stuff.
I don't remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like, for example, with the Captain America movie, they had like 2 or 3 different like options. I know 2 of them. One of them was like, so you can get like these big, they're probably about that tall and like that big around, metal popcorn buckets like for collectors that have like images and stuff from the movie on them. And then you can get that. It's like a combo. You get that in a special cup that's like a reusable cup or whatever. Now, that alone, the drink and the popcorn is the $40. Like what I spent on 5 items, you spend on 2. But it's a collector's thing, and it's for people who are like really excited about what they're going to see. So they do that, and then now the last few times I've been, they've started doing other ones where like the first one I remember seeing it at was Deadpool.
Do you get like a discount on popcorn or soda if you have those things?
I mean, I don't know about it. What do you mean, like a discount?
Like if it's reusable, a collector's thing, can I bring it to the theater and get like cheaper popcorn?
I don't know. I've never asked that. I doubt it.
See that's I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, it is, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because they don't. First of all, they don't do it for every movie. Like I would have paid $40-$50 for a combo set for the Looney Tunes movie. They didn't have them, but like every big movie, like any of them that we're most likely going to go to together this summer for this podcast, there will be a set there, and people will buy them because they're about their favorite movie. These people who like are like really in these fandoms, they buy this kind of stuff. And it's a brilliant move by the theaters because what they realize is like, well, man, people who like Marvel, like they come watch these movies 2, 3, 4 times. You know, they fly out to different states for like Comic-Cons and stuff just to go see them present about what, like, they'll throw their money around for this because they love it so much. What if we could give them like an exclusive item that's limited? They usually sell out the first day or so of the opening weekend. Unless it just really underperforms. Like I will say, when I went last night, I still saw some of the Red Hulk popcorn buckets from Captain America. Surprisingly, I still saw a couple of the Wicked hats, like the little witch hat with the green W, and their cups, and you put a little straw in the back, and you fill the hat up, and then you drink from the hat or whatever. I saw a couple of those there, which blew my mind because that movie like went nuts. But it's brilliant because yes, it's way overpriced, but my wife and I love collecting them. Like I know we have one from Avatar, the second Avatar movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, it was not great. Well, she loved it. She loves those movies. I personally think both of them are overrated and not
definitely good. The only reason they are so much loved is because their CGI was world class when it came out. I mean, it looked extraordinary,
and it did in this second one. I mean, it looked beautiful. I hate 3D movies, and we saw it in 3D, and I walked out of there impressed. I was like, okay, that was wild,
right?
But the movie, I was like, God, that was so long.
Yeah, the
like,
storyline is not very good.
Walked out feeling exhausted. I was like, oh my Lord. But we have that. Thor Ragnarok, which I thought I was going to enjoy more than I did.
Thor Ragnarok?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Love and Thunder?
Yeah.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Which I thought I was going to enjoy a lot more than I did. Dungeons and Dragons we got.
We got to come back to Love and Thunder because I want to hear your thoughts about it later. But
okay. Yeah. And a couple, the animated Ninja Turtles that came out like last year. That's probably one of my favorite ones we have because the colors and stuff on it, it's so cool. Like, and we love having them. And like her whole thing, she's real craftsy. So like when we get our new place, because we're planning on building here soon, hopefully.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're looking at getting some land and building our house, like our forever home on it.
In Columbia, right?
No.
Close to us, like next door.
Yeah, like we're gonna have an underground tunnel.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
We can connect our underground tunnels.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the plan. And I want to have. I hate the term man cave, so I don't call it.
Me
that.
too.
But like a nerd cave, where she wants to do a thing in it where like we'll have like a thing kind of on the wall near the ceiling that goes all the way around it, and she wants to take all our popcorn buckets and like get different color like the wrapping like tissue paper and like fill them up with it, maybe have a couple things in them and like line them up for like display. So I mean, we enjoy that. We don't get them for every movie, but we do get them for ones that we're like really excited about. Like, oh, that's a weekend opener for like we have to go. Like when you and I inevitably go see like Superman or Fantastic Four, like I will be leaving with that giant popcorn bucket and cut. Like I have to. Like they're really cool. They're unique. I have the popcorn bucket from Deadpool and Wolverine. I've got the bucket which has Deadpool on one side hiding behind it, and Wolverine on the other side about to punch through it with his claw. And then I got the Deadpool, like the baby pool. It's a cup, but it's like this big, and I got that. Like I got the whole thing from that. So I spent like $60 or $70 at that movie on them because I got all three.
Jeez, dude.
So I mean, my point is, yes, it's way overpriced, but it is because you don't have to. Every time I go to movies, I still see people at the concession stand, so plenty of people still get it. And then for these big like tentpole movies, they now do this, which is even more overpriced, but it's brilliant because it's targeted at people who will definitely spend the money on it. Like they sell out of them opening weekend 9 times out of 10.
Well, I understand all the points that you're making, but the fact still stands, if what you said at the beginning of this conversation is true, the theaters are struggling, which means that stuff isn't working. At least not to the extent that it needs to rescue them, because they're competing with Netflix's. And it's like, I could go to the theater, spend a crap ton of money on movie tickets, and then I could spend a crap ton of money on snacks, or I could get a $5 thing of popcorn that'll make me like 20 buckets from the store. Not 20 buckets, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Like you can get these packets of Orville popcorn at the grocery store that'll, make you like a lot of different bags of popcorn for like a fraction of the cost, and you can just wait a little while and it's going to be available for streaming.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I get what, so.
And I get that there's people like you. No, you're fine. Just don't ever let it happen again. No, I'm just kidding. But I get that there's people like you, the super fans who they love stuff like that. So I'm not necessarily saying they should stop offering it if it's making them money. But if they're trying to compete and they need to get more people in, they're going to have to think of more clever ways to get more movie lovers. Because I'm a huge movie fan, but I am not like that. I am not spending $70 on a collector's popcorn. I just see no value in that.
Yeah, no, I mean, but see, that's the thing though, is by getting the average people in there like you to at least pay for a ticket to go to the movie, that's a small win right there.
Sure, but the point is, I mean, are the movie theaters struggling, or is this model working for them?
That's what I was going to say earlier, like when you brought that back up a second ago. I'm not saying they are or aren't. I'm saying I know around COVID, like the height of COVID, they were. Like there were talks about pretty much all, if not at least most, of the locations in our general area shutting down.
Yeah.
Because we're already not in a super dense state where it's like tons and tons. I mean, we're growing, but like we're not Texas or California or anything. I mean, like we just don't have that kind of population. So they already weren't like their top, we got to keep the South Carolina theaters open. Like it's never been that. But then like on top of that, I mean, it was a nationwide thing, obviously, because I mean, at least here, people could still go to the theaters here and there after a certain point. Whereas like the rest of the country, or a lot of the country, stayed shut down a lot longer. So your places with more population, like your Californias, your New Yorks, your Texas, they were shut down a lot longer than South Carolina, from what I understand. So like it really did hurt the business as a whole. Now, we're 5 years removed from that, which is crazy, but we're 5 years removed from that. I'm not saying they are or aren't still hurting. I don't know. But my thing is,
it seems like they are, just from a observational perspective, but I don't have any data on it.
If you're basing that off pricing, though, I mean...
No, I'm not saying just because of what the cost is. I'm just saying I don't see, like, my circles, people who used to go to the movie theater all the time, like, nobody really goes anymore. And, like, I drive by them. They look run down. When I've gone to see movies with you, there's way fewer people than I remember for big blockbuster movies.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when we saw Captain America: Brave New World, like, I remember the Sandhills Theater, for instance, like, going to see, like, Pirates of the Caribbean when those movies were coming out. I mean, that place was flooded with people.
Yeah.
And everyone at church was talking about it the next day. You'd go see it on a Saturday and be like, did y'all see the new Pirates movie and stuff? there's just not that excitement around it anymore. I think that there's still some excitement, but it's more like it's becoming more of a niche audience, like people like you who still really love it. And again, this is just an observational perspective. I don't have any data on this.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I also think you're basing it off the wrong movie. I would say we should definitely revisit this in the summer when like the Superman movie comes out, or like the Fantastic Four. Like, because I'm going to be honest with you, there's a reason Captain America came out when it did. There's a reason. Movie release patterns suggest that some of the weaker or like fringe kind of like could be a big deal, but like probably aren't going to have the same draw. Basically, I'll put it like this. There's a reason Marvel didn't take up one of their summer blockbuster slots with Captain America 4 instead of Fantastic Four and like Thunderbolts. They seem a lot more confident in what Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are going to do, which is why they're coming out in May and I think June or July. Because like May is when you're really going to start to see a lot of the bigger releases. Kind of the end of spring, we're starting to get into summer, and summer is when they put all the big, not just Marvel, everyone puts all the big stuff out. They put their best foot forward because people are on vacation, schools are shut down for a little bit. You know, people are looking for a big blockbuster movie to go see. That's why, you know, all the like Godzillas and the the Jurassic, I'm pretty sure this new Jurassic World, like soft reboot, whatever, sequel, whatever it is, that I'm pretty sure that's a summer release. Like people just expect to see those kinds of names in the May, June, July slots.
Well, that's fair. I would like to revisit it then, but even what you're saying to me is like, those movies don't seem to have nearly, for one, every single one of them that you mentioned are all either reboots, remakes, sequels. And I mean, I'm opposed to the Jurassic one because I'm so tired of those movies. But, like the MCU, I think the way they're doing it is unique enough where I am excited about it. But still, a lot of people are just tired of superhero movies. Like back in the day, it used, like I said, like Pirates of the Caribbean, like that was a new type of thing, and people were talking about it, and they were like, have you seen that new Pirates movie? You know, there was a lot more stuff like that. There was a higher demand for like new, fresh ideas to be released in movies. I mean, we were like, for instance, School of Rock is a really good example of this. Like, that's such a unique idea for a movie. Like, this grown man ends up, you know, he's like kind of this rock star, like failing wannabe rock star, and he gets these elementary school kids to start a band with him and do like it's a great movie, and it's like I'm not saying you never see it anymore, but you see it. It's rare when you see it, and there seems to be less excitement around that type of movie. It's all I'm saying is it seems to be forming down into more of a niche of people who want things like the MCU. They want more MCU type stuff.
Well, I mean, so, and to kind of keep this semi on topic too, we're also still talking about streaming here. Like, this conversation's kind of spawned from that. So yeah. I'm going to bring it back to that for a second and say, part of the blessing and the curse that is streaming services is that as they've gone on, what they all started to realize is, or pretty much ever since Netflix had competition, we'll put it like that. Because when Netflix was just Netflix and it was the streaming service, because if you remember, they started out as not even streaming. It was DVD rental. And then they moved into streaming, and it was new ground.
Yeah.
For a while, what did people go to Netflix for? Oh, man, they got Friends on there. Oh, man, The Office is on Netflix. Oh, man, they got this. They got look. Oh, they got that old movie. Movies and shows that have already been out. As soon as Prime, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Peacock, Comedy Central Plus, I mean, you name it. There's a billion. I mean, you name them. As soon as they all started coming out, then you start to see Netflix do what? Oh, man, we need to come up with something that no one else has. Netflix originals. You get a bajillion.
I thought those came out before the other.
If anything, it was close, and I promise you, if it was, if any of them came out before a different streaming service opened up, it was because they knew it was coming and they were trying to get ahead of it. I promise you. And what's happened is we've seen them get better, because when they started out, they were the only one doing it at first.
Yeah,
and they were not always good.
Do you think that Stranger Things was the first Netflix original that really got people talking?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, was it the first? I don't think it was the first one that got people talking. Probably.
Yeah.
I can't think of a bigger, like cultural, is zeitgeist the right word to use here? That springboarded a whole, essentially, genre of film and TV.
You see, actually, this is, I don't mean to cut you off or take away from what you're about to say, but this is actually a good example of what I was talking about. Stranger Things was an original idea. It was something that came out that was like, it wasn't part of anything else, and it was unique. I remember watching the episode and the part where she's on the phone and she hears Will, and then like lightning just zaps the phone, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, that was the kind of thing that...
The Christmas lights scene where he's communicating through the lights with the letters. Really?
Yeah.
The first I haven't seen all the show. I've seen, I think, the first 2 seasons. And I know the first season, at least, was brilliant. I mean, it was brilliant. I'm not saying it got worse as time went on. I haven't seen it, and I know it still has a huge fan base. I just kind of fell off of it. But
I did not. I stopped watching after the first episode of season 4.
Oh, really? You made it that far, and then you just didn't like something they did? Or,
yeah. It went from... They kind of towed the line a little bit in season 2, and I didn't like that, but it was still overall a good season. And then it got a little bit gory in season 3, but again, they were towing the line. But season 4, they took it to a whole new level. It was like it went straight from this kind of like kids fighting monsters, little creepy vibe, to like horror, like straight horror, like to the point where it made me uneasy. Like the end of the first episode of season 4, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah,
it was super demonic.
It makes sense because the kids were growing up, and I think they wanted to grow the show with the audience and with the cast. Makes sense. I don't judge them for it, but I don't think that would be my cup of tea.
Yeah.
What I loved so much about the first season was it had almost a cute vibe. Yes,
exactly.
It was creepy, but it was kind of cute because these kids, this like, they're all kind of outcasts, social out, like they're nerds. They play D&D, and like, they're not popular. And then they find this girl with powers, and she's been abused, and they take her in, and it's really cute.
Yeah,
it's a really cute story. And then the second season, what I remember of it, was it the second season? Is that when her? No. Maybe I did finish the second season because I think the third one is it's the third one where it starts off with her and one of the main kids. They're like in her room and like they're doing their first kiss, and it's like cute. It's 80s, and the music in. I was like, man, they're really good at creating this like vibe of the time, of just the time period. It was really cool. But okay, I didn't, and the third I never finished, so I didn't know they leaned so heavy later in maybe in that season and in the fourth into the horror part.
Yeah, it's not until the very end, but at the very end, the last scene was just like, it made me so uncomfortable, like just freaky. It was like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd continue knowing that, but anyway, you didn't take away from because you actually kind of just added on to where I was going. My point is, the blessing and the curse of streaming is that it kind of opened the door once they started doing originals for like some really unique storytelling. Some of it has been really bad. Some of it has been like award-winningly good. And the bottom line is, the reason I say the blessing and the curse is like, I've gushed on this show before, and I'm about to do it again, about Severance. It is the craziest show that is out right now on any TV, any platform, anything. It is the wildest show being made. Anyone who's seen it knows and agrees, and anyone who hasn't, you need to watch. It is so good. The most original concept I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's crazy. But the bottom line is, there was a time when that wouldn't have been a TV show. Because the idea is so big, it probably would have been like a set of movies, maybe a trilogy, maybe 4 or 5. I don't know how long they would have, if they did it in that kind of format. I don't know how long they would have stretched it out. It either would have been some movies because of the budget, or it would have been one of those like shows that gets swept under the rug because the idea is there, but the like if it was like an NBC, like Wednesday drop show or whatever, I just don't think they would have had the budget to do what this show could really do and like get the cast that it has and stuff like that. I mean, it's wildly creative, wildly original, and it's so captivating. And I mean, you see more of that on things like Apple TV and Prime and Netflix and stuff now than you did at the beginning when all these things were coming out. So as far as you talking about like original movies and things like that, you still get them here and there in the theaters, but a lot of these companies and writers are giving them straight to streaming platforms.
That's true.
And I think that's part of the curse of it.
Yeah.
I was really upset when I found out that Glass Onion was only going to be in theaters for like a weekend. And I was like, well, I'm going to see it in theaters because I loved Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe that a real like production company couldn't outbid Netflix for the sequel to that original story idea with a phenomenal cast, and he was planning to redo it. The fact that Netflix got exclusive, I was like, what?
Well, is that evidence that the theaters are in fact like falling apart?
Well, because that wouldn't have anything to do with theaters.
Well, I mean, if theaters aren't able to get those types of movies, for one, or maybe the reason that they went to Netflix instead of, and I'm just guessing, I don't know how any of this stuff works in the industry, but maybe they chose to do Netflix instead of the theater because they knew more people weren't going to go to the theater and they would lose money on it or something.
It's possible. I mean, you never know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even that movie came out, golly, 21, 22?
Something like that. I don't know.
Because I know the first one came out like before COVID, like 2018 or 19.
Yeah.
So that one came out, had to be like 21 or 22. But that was still close enough to the time where like a lot of people just weren't going to theater. And it could have just been a sign of the times. I don't know. But I will say, even at that, it blew my mind. I was like, like, people are begging for original content. And yes, this is a sequel, but I mean, there was only one returning character in it. It's a very original kind of like mystery storytelling that's like borders on parody, but it's not. And I mean, I just think the first one was so brilliant. I couldn't believe that the second one got exclusively bought out by Net. I mean, I just couldn't believe it.
It's probably a combination of there's a like younger people don't want to go out and do things. I mean, that's just, there's a combination of that, and there's a combination of the big companies are feeding into that too. It's like this, and like, I think I heard somewhere that like a lot of young people, like a way smaller percentage of like teenagers are even getting their driver's license now. Like they don't want to go out and do things. They want to just sit on their phones and sit and look at their phones.
Yeah.
Like my phone feels comfort.
Who needs to drive?
Yeah. But
got a text.
Yeah. So it's probably some kind of combination of all of that stuff. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing with that.
Yes, you are.
He's on to me. No, I mean, I think there's some merit to that, but first of all, I still see a lot of young people out, more than I want to see, because they annoy me. But I still
I see young people out too, but I see them out doing this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
even when they're in groups with each other, they're doing this.
Yeah,
and they're talking about Snapchat and TikTok and all that stuff.
Don't get me wrong; it is a different generation. That is how they communicate, for better or worse. I mean, I have my own little subset of friends that we essentially mainly communicate in like memes. Like even when we're in person, we're just like quoting memes at each other. And it's like, it's pretty brain dead activity, but it's funny. It's little inside jokes for us and whatever. And, I'm sure like my mom and dad look at it like, wow, they're doomed. And we are. But all that to say,
it's a good thing you've seen Lord of the Rings, though.
at least I've seen that. I don't know, man. I definitely do agree. I just don't understand it, but I do agree that companies are feeding into this. But they have to know it's at their own downfall.
Well, unless it's part of a strategy, like Amazon, for instance, where they're doing the things they're doing because they see a future in which they're going to be able to benefit from that.
I just don't see how, like, a company like Warner Brothers, for example, sees a future in people not going to see blockbuster movies.
Well, I think what I'm trying to say is I think the big companies that are coming up, like the Netflixes and the Primes and stuff, are trying to maybe get rid of companies like Warner Bros. Like in the same way Amazon is trying to get rid of competition so they can have a monopoly on.
I don't disagree. I think they would probably love that, but Netflix is not doing so hot themselves. That's why they keep upping member prices and stuff and cracking down on account sharing, because that's
just a dumb move. It's like, we're losing people, we better jack up our prices.
You would think so. I've always thought that too. But the company I work at, which I'm not gonna say their name because legally I don't know. I mean, this was public record. Like, I mean, it was a public thing that happened, but I don't know the legality of me saying what I'm about to say. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know. I'll put it like this. I don't want to. It'd
be really funny if you just worked at a mom and pop store down the street.
Yeah. I don't want to say what I'm gonna say. I'll just put it like this. I'm gonna change my. We're gonna pivot. I've always agreed with that train of thought, but then I will say there are companies that I know of for a fact, plural, not just the one I work at, but like it's become a thing where like the train of thought kind of somewhere along the line in time became, we're losing business, so what we're going to do is we're going to jack up the price, because it's kind of twofold. A, we're going to make more money from the people that stay with us, and B, at least in certain cases, I know for a subscription this doesn't exactly hold, but the idea seems similar. B, we're going to see a huge influx of money when we announce that we're going to up the price, because you're going to have people trying to get in and get whatever before we do. So you're going to see a huge spike, and then even after the spike drops down, because you will lose people from it, even after it'll plateau at a higher point than it would have originally, because our price is higher. You get what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I've always heard the opposite. I've always heard that most of the time when companies increase their prices, it's because they have too much. Like, especially small businesses, they have so many clients that they can't keep up with it. So they increase their price to make the same amount of money from a smaller amount of clients. And the only people who are going to stick with you are the ones who are the better clients anyway, who don't gripe about price.
Maybe. I don't see that being the case for a Netflix. But maybe.
Well, no, it wouldn't be the case for Netflix, but I'm just saying that's the only thing that I've ever heard to increase. I've never heard of like, we're doing poorly. We should charge more for our services that people already don't find value in.
Yeah, I mean, but that's called common sense, and I don't think any of these companies have that.
Well, they're a bunch of millionaires, and we're filming this in my parents' room, so.
That doesn't mean anything.
That's fair.
The bottom line, I'll put it like this. Case in point, I was talking about Warner Bros. Did you know there was a Looney Tunes movie coming out?
No.
You had no idea?
Well, only because you told me.
But I'm saying, so I told you before today?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
But I would have never heard about it unless you had told me.
Never saw a trailer?
No.
Not even a still image?
No, I mean, as you were talking about it, I was like, what? I didn't know this was a thing.
So no one did, really. I mean, unless you were just like me, like a huge Looney Tunes fan and kind of already in the mix of Looney Tunes conversation online to where your algorithm knew to show you this, no one did. And I'll tell you why. My theory, my opinion. A little while back, like last year, middle of last year, Warner Brothers, God, was it last year? Might have been even earlier than that. Sometime in the near past, like it wasn't more than a year or so ago, Warner Brothers had announced they were putting a handful of their movies on the chopping block. Like they were just never going to see the light of day. Two that were like specifically known, like it made a bigger deal, a bigger splash, was the Batwoman movie that had been completely shot. I think it had even made it through post and everything. Like they were test screening it already, and they were like, "Nah, we're not putting
Why?
it out." Well, there's debate on that. Some people say it's because they just wanted the tax write-off of, we put all this money in this movie, it's not going to make us any money now because we're not putting it out. And somehow, some way, some shape or form, I don't know all the ins and outs, but for some reason that becomes a tax write-off for a production studio. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but obviously it could be exploited, which is what I think happened. So a lot of people argue that.
Sorry.
You're good. And then some people argue that there were genuine reasons and concerns to scrap it because they just weren't happy with the finished product. Now, I'm torn because with the Batwoman movie, I can understand that. I could see where that.
How many people wanted a Batwoman movie anyway?
Well, first of all, that's true, but second of all, even people like me who, if it looked good enough, I probably would have gave it a shot. I mean, I like Batman and stuff, and Batwoman's a cool part of the Bat family. I've been begging for them to expound on the Bat family a little bit in movie form, and they never have. So if it looked good, I probably would have been interested. Now, would it be like a opening weekend, go get my $40 popcorn bucket drink combo kind of movie? No, probably not. Not for me. But I would have been interested. However, on the one hand, I say that, and I'm like, maybe it just wasn't good enough. I could see that. On the flip side, the other movie that has made the biggest splash, and maybe it's just in my circle because I doubt the general person's heard about it, but was a Looney Tunes movie that they had completely finished. There are, like, to this day, every few months or so, you'll see a new still image get leaked online somehow. I don't know how. And it's clearly been through post because it was kind of like in the vein of Space Jam or Back in Action, where it was real actors but with the Looney Tunes. And in these still images, the Looney Tunes are already like superimposed into the film. So like it's been through post. It made it through the whole process. And they shelved it. And it to me, it was a really interesting, unique story that I think a lot of people would have found funny and entertaining, at least from a family film standpoint. I'm not going to say it would have like blown up, but I mean, people look for films they can take their kids to and still enjoy. And Looney Tunes has always been good for the adults and the kids because there's some jokes in there that the adults are going to get that it makes it enjoyable, but like it's innocent enough for kids to go have fun and just laugh at the cartoons being silly. And the whole premise was it was Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote versus Acme. And it was Wile E. Coyote suing the Acme company for all the like faulty traps and stuff like that he had used throughout the Looney Tunes canon to like try and catch Roadrunner, and they all like backfired on him or got him hurt or whatever. And it was a funny little story, like a court case between him and Acme. It had like John Cena in it.
This is the one that you told me about, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I did not know. So this movie never came out.
This never came out.
Okay.
It got shelved, and I fully believe it was just for the tax write-off. And here's why I say that. I know for a fact Netflix and I think Prime both offered to buy this movie off of Warner Brothers, pay them, give them, I'm not going to say a blank check, but probably would have given them whatever they asked within reason for this movie to put it out so people could watch it. And they turned them down to scrap it.
That seems weird to me because, I mean, granted, these companies have all kinds of lawyers working for them. But
oh, yeah.
I just don't see how a tax write-off could equal the same amount of money as like buying it from Netflix or the amount of money you would get from like box office sales. I don't understand that.
Unless it has to do with like maybe there's some things in there where like if the movie like gets shelved or written off or whatever, maybe in people's contracts, it's like, well, we don't have to pay you because the movie never got released. We don't have to pay you because the movie never got released. We don't have to pay you. Like,
That's
maybe
fair.
it saves them a lot of money, and it still makes them some via tax write-off, you know. But see, here, that's what I don't get. They shelve movies like that, and then they put out crap like The Flash.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry if you're one of the few people who liked that, but that movie was not good. You know, I don't understand how certain of these things they get shelved, and then I don't get how these decisions are made.
Me neither.
Like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of ins and outs, but you know, time will tell.
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, that the Looney Tunes one that I told you about, I guess, was the one that got shelved. Another one actually made it to theaters. This one was all animated. There were no like real people in it. But we went last night and watched it. It was fun. It was a fun little. I mean, it wasn't like the best movie of the year or anything. You're not going to hear about it at the Oscars, but it was enjoyable. I felt like I was going somewhere else with that, but I think that's all. Anyway, all that to say, you know,
back to Daredevil.
Yeah, you know, the streaming thing for me, it's kind of a thing of like, I get the convenience, I get the price point at theaters and the concessions and all that. I'm not saying I don't understand any of that. What I am saying is, I think that I still stand by, even with the prices being what they are, if everything closed, if the theaters stopped, people would miss it. Like,
sure.
Like, even with the $40 concessions, like, you know, people would never bring that up. They would just be thinking about not getting to go with, like, their families or their friends or whatever to go sit and watch a movie in a giant room with a bunch of people who you don't know, but you all have that one thing in common that you're there for. It's just a special thing.
I don't actually think movie theaters are headed towards extinction.
I hope not.
I think that they're headed toward... Hold on a second. Do you hear a hum?
Yeah, a little bit.
Might be time for a new cable.
Ruh-roh.
Okay, so now let's start. No. Had a little bit of technical difficulty there.
I just don't understand how...
I don't actually think that movie theaters are headed towards extinction. I think that they're probably going to become like what plays are now. Like, you know, you have New York, which has got Broadway. Mm-hmm. They're still, you know, popular, but used to be plays was the main way that you would go hear a good story from. I mean, it used to be around the campfire, but...
Or the radio.
Yeah, exactly, the radio. And, you know, radio is not popular anymore, but it's not extinct. It's just a smaller niche of people like them. And I think that's where theaters are headed. It's going to be kind of a non-mainstream thing. It's like the kind of people who go to movie theaters are going to be a smaller group of people who, you know, just like doing it. It's sort of like, I don't know, like I like to play chess. Like there's a chess club here in town. It's not like a huge, big, nobody at church the next day is talking about, did y'all go to that chess tournament? You know, but there's a small group of people out there who like doing it. So they go and do it.
Yeah, I mean... I get what you're saying.
I meant to say this. I actually would love to see if plays came back though, because I like plays. I don't like musical theater, but just plays. I went to one local play here, and it stunk.
Well, that's a just shining advertisement for them to make a comeback.
No, my point is there's not as much. My point is there's not as much love put into it.
I mean, I don't know about. I guarantee you, if you ask the people who put on that terrible play, they'd be like, "Dude, we spent so much time on this." And
I don't care what they told me. Like,
man, you wasted your time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
No, I
but
mean,
it's probably partially because there's no one else. There's this very small group of people who care about putting on a good play. So I'm sure they're limited by resources. They're limited by, you know, actors. They're limited.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Who out there is trying to go do a play in Columbia, South Carolina?
I actually I really wanted to. It didn't work out, sadly, but the local little theater in Lexington, the Village Square Theater.
Mm-hmm.
They were putting on a production near the end of January for like a week or so, of Murder on the Orient Express, which I really wanted to go check out. It didn't work out, sadly, but right now they're doing Junior Mean Girls, which I'm assuming is just like a kid's version of the Mean Girls movie.
Interesting.
So not as much up my alley. But I do intend to keep my eye on it because it's something I wouldn't mind going and supporting for a similar reason. But the bottom line is, plays for me will never, ever replace film. I'm not going to say I don't have an appreciation for what they are, what people can do on a stage. Like, it is unique what people can come up with when they are limited by, like, we have to be able to display this on a stage. Like, we don't have any support other than maybe like some sounds, like through speaker, or like what an artist or group of artists can create to put on this stage. And even then you're limited by like where it is.
Well, I would like to challenge that.
Please do. Be boring.
On guard.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Move on.
That's fair. For one, I wouldn't like to challenge it because I wasn't even saying that theater should replace film. Not by any stretch, because film is a whole different art that I love.
I win.
Yeah, that's right. You should do it more often.
I wish I could.
But I mean, I agree. I would never want plays to replace film. Like, I love film. I want film just as much as I want plays. I just want it to be there to be more excitement about plays, and it be a thing that you can go do as an option. The second thing I would say is you haven't experienced probably a like really high quality production play. I have only experienced one in my life, and it was awesome. But there's a company called Sight and Sound. I really want to go see one of their plays. I heard about it from a friend when I was living in Nashville, and they do these retelling of Bible stories on plays. And he said that he went and saw one, and he couldn't believe he was looking at a stage. Like, it looked like an actual different place. It was so crazy. So I'm interested to go see. I mean, they're like in Pennsylvania, I think. So I can't really go see one, but at some point I'd like to go see.
It'd be something we could plan, like just specifically to talk about.
That would be cool.
I mean,
But I wish there was more stuff like that. Like, I wish there were traveling groups who came and put on live plays that were really high production. That would be fun.
Now, that would be cool. Like, if it was someone, like kind of like you read about, like in Name of the Wind, like
exactly,
Vote's little like troop or whatever. Like that would be neat. And you don't see a lot of stuff like that, and it would be very hard to do. And I get that
because there's not demand for it. Nobody really wants
demand, but then also, I mean, to put it on at a high enough level, the amount of stuff you'd have to take with you and constantly set up and take down and set up. I mean, it'd be a lot. It'd be doable.
It's not as much. I hesitate to say this. It depends on the type of play. I don't think it's quite as much as like a massive like Taylor Swift tour, for instance.
Fair.
Because like Taylor Swift came. When I worked at Centerplate, the Williams Bryce and Colonial Life Arena, all their events, I worked backstage at a Taylor Swift concert, and like the amount of stuff they were hauling, teams. I mean, hundreds, thousands. It felt like thousands.
Cauldron or broom.
That like drawing out the circle and the candles
and the amount of salt. Oh, don't get me started. And don't let her touch water; she'll melt.
I walked out and I said, "Do not go in there."
No, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know you worked backstage on one of her concerts.
I thought I told you that. I saw the back of her head.
Wow.
I actually
sadly a lot of people would genuinely brag about that.
Yeah, I know. I've never really been a Taylor Swift fan, so
me either.
It was kind of cool
when
though.
She was good.
Yeah. Honestly.
Even when I didn't get her shoved in my face every time I wanted to watch an NFL game.
Oh yeah, I know.
Anyway,
your problem there is that you want to watch an NFL game.
Well, it is when you're a fan of my team.
Well, that's the problem. Is you're a fan of the NFL.
I'm not a fan of the NFL.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all. Fair. I'm not even a fan of my team anymore. Cowboys Nation.
You're a Cowboys fan?
sadly.
Really? Why are you a Cowboys fan?
My dad.
Oh, I didn't know he was a cowboy.
Well, yeah.
I thought he was a blue collar guy.
Well, their stars are blue.
What's really dumb about that is
I
think yeah, very much so. I lost again. You win. You're doing it more often. Congrats.
Yes.
What's dumb about that is Cowboy probably is like the most blue collar thing you could possibly do.
Yeah. No, his dad was a Cowboys fan, and so he grew up a Cowboys fan. So I grew up a Cowboys fan. The thing about it is, when they were growing up a Cowboys fan, it was kind of a good thing. For me, it has kind of sucked my whole life. So I'm not appreciative of it, but I will carry on this terrible tradition.
There you go. You're used to being a Gamecock fan. So
yeah, I mean,
you got a lot of practice.
And honestly, that's worse because I care. I don't care about the. I mean, they could do whatever with pro football. I enjoy watching it here and there, but mainly just to see like some of the kids I watched in college like play in the pros. But I mainly care about my Gamecocks, which that's I will say is turning around.
No, it's not. They say that every single year. Oh man, they had a much better season than I anticipated them to this year. But Sellers was the reason that bowl game was lost. And it's
I thought you were gonna say a way different statement. That's why I was like, yeah.
No, dude, he's not good.
I disagree.
Well, that's every Gamecock fan disagrees with that, and that's why we're never gonna win.
I wouldn't say they all disagree with that, and we're not going to turn this into a whole thing, but I will say he's the first time in my lifetime I can ever remember us having a quarterback that's preseason hype for a Heisman.
Oh, okay.
Not to mention almost took us a team that, by the way, anyone who has anything to do with like college athletics or Vegas stats or anything like that had us winning less than 5 games this season, and you could say he's the reason we lost the bowl game, which I disagree with. He is one of them. I will give you he did not have a great game, but he's not the reason. We were a drop touchdown pass from winning and 2 missed field goals from winning. But anyway, aside from that.
That's because the field goals attempts were because Sellers couldn't get us in the end zone.
He can't do everything.
Yeah, that's what a quarterback does.
No. I'm just kidding. But he might be one of the reasons we did lose a bowl game, but he's also he's the only reason we beat Clemson. Every point we got against Clemson.
Well, sort of. I mean, he had to he couldn't throw it, so he had to keep running. I mean, he made it happen.
Yeah,
I'll give it to him.
Happen,
I wouldn't say he's the reason. I mean, he ended up making it happen in spite of getting in his own way. That was my.
Here's the thing: we have no O-line, or had no O-line, and a very inexperienced receiver room that got better as the year went on. So we'll see. My point is, I care more about my Gamecocks than I do the Cowboys, and I do think that we were a game away from being in the playoffs this past season. I think we make it this year.
That's the classic Gamecock fan.
It is.
We were this close.
It is
every single year.
But you know what? I'm not someone who's ever going to say, you know what? I just don't care anymore. Because to me, like I talk to too many people like where I work and and my dad, and they're just so burnt out on the almost success that they're just like whatever. Like I'll just believe it when I see it. I'm like, well, then you're not. What's the point? Why watch if you don't expect to win? What is the point to watch?
I don't really watch.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people at work who do watch every game.
Yeah,
but then still,
I'll give you that.
I mean, what's the point?
I'm kind of a casual fan anyway. I'm not like I love the Gamecocks in the sense that my dad got us season tickets when I was little, so I have a lot of nostalgic value, and that was a lot of fun. But I'm not really a massive football fan anyway. So I'm a casual watcher, and I'm not. This is not even close to anything to do with movies.
I don't know. This last season was kind of a good movie for me. I enjoyed it.
Well,
you got to understand, I went the whole preseason telling everyone I work with that we were going to win 10 games, and all of them laughing in my face, and we almost won 10
I bet
games.
they really laughed after the first game with Old Dominion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
10 games up. Because I thought the season was over after that. I was like,
a lot of people did.
yeah.
A lot of people did. I wasn't happy with it. Like I'm unbiased enough to know when we had a bad game. The bowl game, and not just because we lost, but even if we had won, was not a good game. But you lost your OC, you lost your starting running back, and you lost one of your biggest weapons on defense, and one of your other biggest ones only played a half. So I mean, we were playing at somewhat of a deficit. I mean, it is what it is. But end of the day, I think we're gonna look pretty good this year.
All right. I hope you're right. Can I explain a couple things about Daredevil? Because we never did go back to that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I haven't watched it, so I know you're not gonna spoil it. But just
I'm gonna spoil it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
no
I'm just
spoilers.
gonna say for them, don't expect it to get. I think we should have a more detailed conversation once I get caught up. Maybe maybe that could be part of the next episode. But
I like that idea. I'll say this without spoiling anything. The very first scene, I was simultaneously so angry, so shocked, and also blown away, like at how good the shots were and like the choreography and stuff. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to accidentally say too much and give away something. But
someone dies.
I'm not going to say whether or not someone dies or whether or not some character did something I didn't like or whether.
I'm just saying that's my theory.
That's your theory?
Yeah, I think someone dies pretty quickly in the show.
Is it because you've been looking online and have come across stuff or something?
The first main trailer I remember seeing, it has that shot of his helmet falling off a building, and then he's having the conversation with Fisk, and he says something about him not doing it as much, and he's like, a line was crossed. And I'm like, what would make him stop daredeviling? Because in the last season, I never saw. Okay, I never finished season 3.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about, and I need to. Do I need to finish it before I watch this?
You don't need to.
Okay.
But I mean, you're missing out. It's a fantastic season.
Well, I have heard it's a good season.
It's so good.
But from what I remember from season 2, the two people he cared most about in the world pretty much wanted nothing to do with him when they found out what he was doing, and he still didn't stop. So I'm like, well, what would make him actually stop? And I'm like, someone had to die. And I can still only think of 2 people it could be, because he's not very close with many people.
Or
dun, dun, dun.
Someone could have done something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm interested.
Someone could have just called him a mean name that was really well thought out.
Blindy. No.
I had this comic book image in my head of that happening, of just eyes bulging out. No,
I'm Blindbeard the pirate.
Anyway, here's what I'll say. It's such. I can't decide how I feel about the show, because it's this constant I'm really disappointed in that. But the way they did it and stuff is it's really good storytelling, and the way they film it, they even filmed it differently than the other Daredevil. It still feels like Daredevil. It doesn't feel like it's not true to its, roots, but it feels like a Born Again type vibe. The cinematography is so cool, and the way they film the fights and stuff, so awesome. The filming is really, really cool. I don't like the way certain characters have gone, and this is a very minor spoiler, but you probably have already guessed this from the trailers. I kind of figured this from the trailers too. I really don't like that they're setting up Wilson Fisk again to be the big baddie. How many times is Daredevil going to have to defeat him before he's actually defeated?
Well, that's kind of the thing with he never is.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe it's a comic book thing, but I don't like that. It's Daredevil's defeated him.
Yeah.
Another problem with it though is at the end of the 3rd season, they set it up for there to be another villain to show up, and that villain has played a very small role in this new season. No.
Oh.
Bullseye.
Oh, Bullseye.
And that villain played a super duper small role that I still don't even understand what the purpose of it was fully yet. Now, granted, we're only 3 episodes in.
I was going to say, you're not even halfway through, I don't
But
think.
they haven't even called back to it. It's They sort of have, but they haven't mentioned Bullseye at all, really.
Well, okay, I will real quick. While I'm not trying to completely derail, if you want to continue, I do want to hear more. But I want to say on that note, keep in mind too. Originally, this was going to be like, I think like 16 or 18 episodes, and then they cut it and they were like, what we're going to do is we're gonna put out season 1, and it's essentially going to be like 8 episodes or 9, something like that. And then we're going to do season 2, which is really going to be the back half of what originally was going to be season 1. They've already started it. Like, they're only 3 episodes into putting this one out. They've already started season 2. So even if this season ends in a way that kind of feels like, ugh, man, like that wasn't a whole story. It was never intended to be. For ease of shooting, and I think the strikes and stuff might have messed them up a little bit too. I'm not sure. They cut it. Like, they're still doing the whole thing, but they're doing it in 2 parts. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's just like completely excuses everything, but I'm just saying keep in mind that like this is supposed to be a really long season, even though it's only going to be about this long. So yeah, there might be a few things that like they throw in here and then maybe they don't call back to for like a while. But in the grand scheme, like in a 2-season arc, it's gonna be a big deal probably.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Time will tell,
it could be that they turn all this around as the show goes on. And I will say, every episode has ended with a like super jaw-dropping cliffhanger where I'm like, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. But it's a mix of emotions. It's like really good and really intriguing, and then also really disappointing. Like, I'm tired of Wilson Fisk, and I was really hoping to get more of this other villain. And also, I hate his voice, the way he does Kingpin. It's so bad. And my wife and I were watching it. She pointed out that it sounds like the Cookie Monster, and now I can't unhear it. Every time he talks, it sounds like the Cookie Monster. It really does.
I mean, I get it. I don't know, man. We've had that discussion, you and I as well. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. I know you're not a huge fan of him, like his portrayal of that character,
it got worse in this season too.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the Dark Knight thing, right? It's like if you go back and watch Batman Begins, Christian Bale was kind of more doing like this, like just trying to hide his voice. And it became like a thing, so he fell more into it. And by the Dark Knight Rises, he's talking like this all the time. Like they fall more in the character as they do it, and I don't even think they realize it. So I guarantee you, if you went back, I don't know when's the last time you've watched Daredevil season 1, but I guarantee you, if you went back and watched some of the first episodes of the show, he's probably talking more like this. He still did the thing a little bit, but now it's probably more like the Cookie. Like, he probably fell more into it as time
I'm
went
sure
on.
that's true, but I didn't like the way he talked from the beginning. But
well, it took me some getting used to. I'm not a huge fan of that. I will say, I don't like his whole like almost grunting, stuttering cadence. I don't like it.
It's like he's trying too hard to be this really sophisticated, like criminal. I just don't like his character.
It does make me buy that he's twisted, because like only a psycho talks like that.
I mean, yeah, but it's not threatening. Like, if someone talked to me like that, I'm like, you're the big crime boss, Cookie Monster? Like,
yeah, and then he'd slam your head in a car door.
That part made me, when he does stuff like that. But,
yeah, but like
that makes me think he's twisted in spite of his voice. Like, his voice takes away from that. I'm like, how?
Maybe that's the point.
No, that's not the point. It's
you
just
don't know. It might be.
I guarantee it's not the point.
I don't know. I put it like this. Like, my thing is, I could see them doing a thing where, like, I mean, we saw his backstory in season 1. He was abused. He was like a nervous little kid who didn't want to be violent or aggressive, and his dad beat him to the point where he became that way, killed his own dad. Like, that would mess me up. I might talk a little weird if that was my childhood. I mean, a lot of professionals relate stuttering issues to like a traumatic thing that happened when you were young and it messed you up so bad.
Yeah, but I mean, if he had a stuttering or something, that would be different. It just
kind of is a stutter though.
It's not a stutter.
I mean, it's not like a straight up stutter like that, but like the way his cadence is stuttery. Like not when he says words.
I just think that he is trying too hard to deliver his lines. That's the way it comes across to me.
And
I think he's a good actor. I've seen him in other things that I thought he's done great with.
Yeah, Magnificent Seven.
I never saw that one.
Or no.
I saw him in Jurassic World, actually.
Magnificent Seven.
I was like, he did pretty good in Jurassic World.
Yeah, he was okay in that. I didn't like his character, but...
So you don't like his character in Jurassic World. I don't like his character in Daredevil.
Well, the difference here is also, you got to think, like, I grew up watching, like, the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and it didn't matter who the villain was. Every single villain in the Rogues Gallery somehow got tied back to Kingpin in that cartoon. So I grew up just kind of understanding that, like, Kingpin was, like, kind of a central part of... And to me, Spider-Man has a much more varied and, like optional, many more options Rogues Gallery than Daredevil. Like, I don't even, other than Kingpin and Bullseye, and I guess Elektra, kind of. She's kind of she's like Catwoman with Batman. It's like sometimes she's good, sometimes she's bad, but whatever. I can't think of any Daredevil foes.
Well, Bullseye's one of them.
That's what I said. But besides Bullseye, kind of Elektra, and Kingpin, he doesn't have... My thing is, like, Spider-Man has a lot more, and they're a lot more iconic, and even his stuff a lot of times gets tied back to Wilson Fisk. Like, in the 2018 Spider-Man game, the first thing you do is go help storm Fisk Tower with the NYPD to take him down.
Yeah. Well, they had some more villains in Defenders, which I thought the villains were interesting. At least they were new in Defenders.
Well, there is the Foot Clan. Or the hand.
The hand.
The hand.
The five fingers of the hand.
Yeah, that's Hand Clan.
That's who showed up in Defenders. And then there was one thing I didn't like is they brought the Punisher and Elektra in season 2. And it's not that big of a deal, but it's like those are the only villain, like it just always goes back to Fisk after that. It's like they could have strung it out and they could have included, and I'm going to hesitate to say things because they're dropping some hints that there will be more villains, but they're not showing it in a way that's been satisfying yet.
Well, that's fair. I'll reiterate, which I know you're not saying this isn't the case, but we're 3 episodes in. I'd let it breathe a little bit. I think they're trying to do a lot because this is now part of a much larger thing. Like, when it was on Netflix, it was part of the MCU, but not really, because Kevin Feige didn't want it to be, because he couldn't touch it himself and control things. It's now part of a much larger thing, and like I just told you before the podcast, it's apparently been confirmed Fisk is going to show up in Spider-Man 4.
Yeah,
huge deal. I mean, that's one of their biggest current moneymaker guarantees is Spider-Man.
Yeah,
huge deal. So And him,
I haven't made up my mind about the series yet. I don't want to make it sound like.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, as far as your current opinion.
Yeah.
I'd let it breathe a little. I'm interested to know though how much your opinion will or won't change, or even maybe change more into the negative, like as it goes on.
They have also tried harder to incorporate this into the MCU this season too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which I was anticipating, but they've done it in ways that have been kind of exciting.
Well, and it's also kind of a blessing and a curse, because now some people are like way overreading into certain things.
Yeah,
like there's true. Like a throwaway. It's not even a throwaway line. It's just there's a line where apparently there's a court scene. I've seen this clip. I don't know any context about it, but there's a court scene with like a bunch of cops. And Daredevil is like throwing down files, and he's saying their names, like Officer so-and-so, Officer, and then he says Officer Morales, and people are like, oh my gosh, they're setting it up for Miles Morales, oh my gosh, because his dad's a cop. But I'm like, you people don't know anything about these characters. His dad's last name is not Morales, it's Davis. And people just like completely... I'm like, not everything is a setup for something. Like, calm down.
But maybe that's why they did it, because they knew people would freak out.
It's possible, but I doubt it, because it's not the right name. It's not even close to the right name.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he goes by
fair.
Miles Morales, but anyone who knows this much about that character, which with the popularity of the video games in the last few years and the 2 movies he's had, his dad in all of those is Officer Jefferson Davis. Like he's never been Officer Morales, never. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the other problem with it is he's in a different universe.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, though. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, they already hint that he exists. You remember? You know?
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, and he played his uncle.
Yeah.
So like they've already hinted he does exist in the MCU.
Right. But MCU, yes, but he's in a different. He's a part of the multiverse, right? I mean, but I guess not, because if he was in Homecoming.
That's what I'm saying. Homecoming is in the main line, what they call the 616 universe. And, I mean, he exists now. I mean, I'm not going to say he's Spider-Man yet. I think we would know that by now if he was. But there's even like I don't even remember. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was not deleted. It was a post-credit scene where they go back and check it. He's still got his hand stuck to the thing. And he says, yeah, I'm going to be late, Miles. So like, he calls him by name and everything. So, I mean, like, he exists in the main MCU universe, not like a multiverse, different thing. But, like, I don't think he's Spider-Man yet. But
that's going to be weird to have two Spider-Men from the same universe. Because, like, Into the
Spider-Verse?
Yes, Into the Spider-Verse. He becomes Spider-Man because Kingpin's messing around with the multiverse.
And gets him,
and a spider
gets through.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. But why would you have two Spider-Men? Like, one of the things I loved about the Amazing Spider-Man series, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 in particular, that's a movie that's disliked by a lot of people, and I don't know why. I
know why.
Okay, well, maybe you can tell me when I'm done with this, but that's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie, except for now No Way Home. But all the standalone Spider movies, that one's probably my favorite one. I love it. And one of my favorite things that I loved about that movie was when they explained that Peter's dad put his own DNA into the spider to avoid, and that's why it works for Peter, but it doesn't work for other people. And because my that's always been a thought of mine, is like, why don't people just go get bit by the spider and get more powers and stuff? So I loved that they did that. And like the fact that it would make sense in a multiverse situation, because it could be that there's a universe where someone has a similar DNA to Peter Parker that could, have it work. But I don't know. So why do people not like it?
Well, let me jump to that in a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to address the other things first real quick. So first of all, in Into the Spider-Verse, I don't know if you remember, but right after Miles gets bitten and he's starting to like figure stuff out, Peter gets in that huge fight with that universe's Green Goblin, and then he dies.
Mm-hmm.
That pretty much is the case. Like in the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book storyline, which was like the original time where we met Miles Morales, I'm pretty sure that's even how it went there. Like,
but it was still a Peter from a different universe, right?
Well, what I'm saying is the Ultimate Universe was a different universe in the comics. It had a Peter Parker Spider-Man. He died. Miles took over, and then the main line, like the main Peter Parker that we've always kind of followed in the main universe through rigmarole comic book stuff, he makes it to that universe for a while, and they do talk, they connect, and then obviously there's other crossovers where they meet up here and there. But the bottom line is the general flow of the Miles story is that his universe has a Spider-Man. He somehow gets bit and turned into a Spider-Man. They might connect, they might not. I don't know. I haven't read all his stuff, but like for the most part, eventually his Spider-Man dies and he takes over. So he becomes that universe's like main Spider-Man.
I don't like that.
The reason I say all that is because what Marvel is gearing for long term is an entire reboot. So Secret Wars, whether it be a 1 or 2, or I think it should even be like my ideal like thing for Secret Wars, and this could honestly probably be an episode in itself. Like if I took the time to like brainstorm it out and write everything down, like I could tell you what I think they should do with Secret Wars. I think it should be like a 3-part, like a trilogy of movies, and in between each like main movie release, there's Disney Plus shows that tackle smaller part, because like it is a massive crossover. Like even Civil War probably should have been 2 movies if you wanted to do it like how they do it in the comics. In the comics, when Civil War happened, it affected everyone. Everyone was touched by it. And there were individual trades put out that specifically dealt with, like, what's the Fantastic Four going through? Well, they're kind of falling apart because a couple of them are more like on Cap's side, and then you got Reed, who Iron Man came and hired to create the Negative Zone, which was a prison in like this dimension where it's just nothing, and he was just throwing anyone he wanted in there, and it was so. And they disagreed with him on because they're throwing their fellow ally heroes, they're throwing them in the Negative Zone. Like that was a whole thing. There was a whole thing about just the X-Men. Like what are the X-Men go? Like it was a huge event. Secret Wars is that on steroids. I mean, it's massive. So personally, I think it should be like a trilogy of movies with shows in between to like tackle smaller pieces of what's happening on the main thing. That aside, the point is their goal in all this is to get through Secret Wars, give you your nods to every Marvel thing that's ever existed, every show, movie, anything. You're probably going to see people pop up in these movies or movie or whatever, and then reboot the universe, start new. And when they do that, we're probably going to start with our new Spider-Man being Miles Morales. I'm assuming. I don't know if they're going to set him up before then and have him kind of take over in the reboot, or if they're just going to let Peter do his thing throughout this next trilogy and into Secret Wars and then kill him off or whatever. And then in the new thing, we'll just start Miles. I don't know how they plan to do it, but that's probably what we're going to see happen.
I don't like that.
I know you're probably not the biggest fan of that. But I mean, I like Miles. I like his character. I like his powers, and I'm open for something a little different. But regardless, I mean, it's just gonna be what it is. People are either gonna like it and go watch it, or they're gonna hate it, and it'll.
I'd still go watch it.
I think Marvel's going to be in a very precarious situation after Secret Wars, because I think what they're doing is extremely ambitious, and if they don't stick the landing the right way, I think Secret Wars might be, like, for a long time at least, probably the last big Marvel thing we get. Like people thought the MCU was done after Infinity War. I think if they do it wrong, I think it really might.
Do you think they're going to do it wrong?
I hope not. I mean, I'll put it like this.
But what does your heart say?
My heart says I didn't like Endgame, and a lot of people did. You did. A lot of people did. I did not think Endgame was a good enough ending for the 10 plus years that built up to it. It just didn't. It made a mockery of one of the original 3 characters that built the MCU throughout the whole. No, well, two of the original characters that built what was the core first Avengers team and built the MCU, with the Hulk becoming like a complete non-factor and Thor being a whiny baby the whole time and essentially relegated to a bunch of fat jokes. I will say through our conversations, I've taken a whole different perspective away from it, and I do.
That's because I win this time.
Yeah, right. You won that. I can appreciate that they lost, and it was heartbreaking, and they lost friends, and it was something they hadn't experienced before, and I can accept that they would act differently. What I can't accept is that the directors and the producers and the writers would treat it so that, like, if you wanted to hit me with Thor acting differently, you wouldn't make him a fat slob and like make him a joke where every time people see him, they're calling him Cheese Whiz and all that. That doesn't.
Let me ask you this though: would that not have bothered you if once he got Mjolnir back, when he like went back in time? If like that was a moment where everything changed again, and then it was funny, but then he actually remembered that he had to be the hero again.
I will say that would have helped, because I thought that's what was going to happen. I was like, oh, okay, he's going to get the hammer, and he's going to be like, oh man, I'm still worthy, even though I lost and we lost people because of me not doing the right thing. Like, I'm still worthy of. That would have maybe helped. I won't say it would have completely changed my outlook on it, because in my opinion, then my gripe would have been, oh, so we're just back to him thinking he's only his weapon. Because that was the whole... Ragnarok was one of the coolest Marvel movies, and part of what made that story so compelling and impactful was that he learned he's not his hammer. Okay, he lost the hammer, and it set him back for a lot of that movie, but like, he finished the movie without even a weapon. Like, he was just that powerful, because he was always that powerful. The hammer just kind of gave him a way to harness it. But like, he is Thor. Like, he's the god of thunder, not of hammers. That's why that line's in the movie. I forgave it in Infinity War when he goes to get Stormbreaker, because I was like, well, okay, he's saying it's going to help his power become enough to actually take on something like Thanos with the gauntlet. I can get past that, because he's not saying he needs it to like exist. He's saying he needs it to get to that level where he could fight him. Okay. Still a little toe in the line, but I let it slide because he was really cool in that movie. They still did him justice. The way they did him in Endgame, I was just like, dude, come on. Like, and then, yeah, after he got the hammer, I was like, okay, we're finally going to get back. Nope, still a complete joke. Yeah. Looks like a slob in his outfit. I mean, just ruined him. But
I agree with that, because I was fine with it. It was funny to me up until they faced Thanos, and he didn't, like,
it still didn't change.
He was the one who killed Thanos originally. He was the one who stopped Thanos. Like, he threw the axe in his chest, and he could have won, you know? Mm-hmm. And he did nothing against Thanos in the second fight. Yeah. That was when I was disappointed.
Yeah,
it would have all been totally okay with me if, like, Thor would have, like, for instance, you know what, Scarlet Witch, like, pulled him up and started peeling off his armor, and he had to have everyone fire that should have been Thor or Hulk or both of them.
That actually, to me, I liked, because they have way underplayed Scarlet Witch from the time she was introduced in the MCU.
Yeah.
She's one of the most powerful characters in all of Marvel, and they have always relegated her to being like this damsel in distress, like, I need someone to help me. I'm like, no, you don't. You can change the universe at the level of atoms. Like, you are literally unbeatable if you just
I hate that.
Do it. Well, I mean, you can hate it, but I mean, that's how she's written.
I totally give you that. That's fine, but the problem is that they set the movies that way, in a way where it didn't make as much sense with Scarlet Witch.
That's true.
It makes sense to comic book fans. If they had, like, played her out that way, it would have come across. But it felt to me, because I don't know, I don't read comics, I don't know what goes on in the comics, like, it felt to me like they were just like, forget Thor and Hulk, we'll just give it to this lady. And I was like, come on. I mean, I know she lost Vision. She should have had some kind of redemption. But the storyline has, like you said, the two most powerful, like Thor and Hulk, like, I was wanting their redemption in that story. Yeah. It wasn't Scarlet Witch's turn yet to show that power. Yeah. Like, maybe they could have shown it by her, like, wrecking half his army or something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, Hulk, I really was hoping that, like, when Thanos had everyone fire on his own army, because that was the only way he could. I was hoping Hulk and or Thor would have caused that, like, especially Hulk, like the matchup where I was just in my head was seeing, when I saw Professor Hulk show up, I thought, oh my gosh, he's gonna fight Thanos again, or at least once they hinted at Thanos coming back. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, he's gonna fight Thanos again and to kick his butt this time, because he's got the intellect and the, like, I was expecting him, like, grabbing, like, Thanos's punch and just, like, twisting his arm, and I was like, none of it.
Yeah.
He did the snap to bring everyone back, and then his arm's useless.
Yeah.
Dude, at the end of Shang-Chi, the end credits, he's got his arm in a sling.
Yeah.
And he's not even the Hulk. And I'm like, he's still recovering from that injury?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hated that part of Endgame.
A lot of, like, diehard Hulk fans, like my brother-in-law, David, that's like his favorite character. He hates the MCU Hulk now, because we don't see him back to even close to 100% until She-Hulk. And the bottom line is, if you know anything about Hulk, he's got a healing factor. Like, he should have. I'm not saying that the power of the Infinity Gauntlet couldn't have hurt him, but, like, especially by Shang-Chi, that post-credits, he should not have been in a sling at all.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been a thing. And by the way, why, like, well, I guess that goes to the whole healing thing. I was going to say, why is Bruce even hurt? It was Hulk who got hurt. But, like, I guess it makes sense. But the bottom line, we never see that because, like, we've never seen that before, at least to my knowledge, because you can't hurt Hulk enough to where he wouldn't heal, and then by the time he turns back into Bruce, Bruce would be fine. Like, there are literally things, like, they talk about in Avengers. The first Avengers, I put a bullet in my mouth, and the other guy spit. He tried to kill himself, and the Hulk changed that quickly and stopped it from killing him. I mean, like, come on, man. But regardless, that was, okay, a little spiel on Endgame there, but the point of all that is, that movie had all that and probably even more to me that was wrong with it. And that movie is nothing. That movie is Iron Man 1 compared to, and I mean that as far as like complexity.
Yeah.
That movie is Iron Man 1, like a solo outing level of complex compared to what Secret Wars should be.
Yeah.
You're talking about teams, plural, of heroes and villains and everything battling from multiple universes. We're going to see some that we've probably seen before, and then we should see some that we've never even seen before. Like, people talk about how one of the original casting ideas for Iron Man before Robert Downey got the job was Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were speculating that Tom Cruise was going to show up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness in an alternate universe as Superior Iron Man with the silver armor with the one of the gems in it. He never showed up. If we don't see stuff like that in Secret Wars, like stuff that like we've seen, like, I want to see the original Fantastic Four group with Chris Evans back and that, I forget the guy's name who played Reed.
Chris Evans, the Human Torch, Chris Evans died in Dead Men.
Well, a version of him, yeah. But I mean, that's the whole beauty of the multiverse is, like, you could say, well,
there's no stakes.
Well, I mean, you could look at it that way, but I mean, the bottom line is if the version of a character that you knew, like, for example, we'll probably see Robert Downey as Iron Man again in one of these universes, but he's not the one we knew. It's just like when Gamora dies in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we get a Gamora in Guardians 3, completely different dynamic. Now, that's good writing. They knew to not write her the same, and James Gunn knew, like, she's not going to feel the same way. Like, so you still got to write it well, but the bottom line is, just because it's the same character, it's not the same person. Like, so there are stakes. You could lose the version that you knew, that you actually fell in love with that character. We could see a whole other Tom Holland Spider-Man. He might not be one that we like. I mean, he could act completely different, which is where you need talented actors also to, like, be able to portray perhaps a same character a different way. And that's, it gets complicated. And that's my point, is, like, in the comics, it's as easy as, well, we'll draw them a little different. Okay, they have a little different costume.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in my head, I can read it differently. On a movie, you have to write it differently, dress them differently. They might have to move differently. The actors might have to speak a little differently. Like, we need ways to know, well, this isn't the Doctor Strange or the whatever. And they might just get different actors for each one. I don't know. They got the money to do it if they want. But, like, I need to see things that we've seen before, like Nick Cage Ghost Rider. I need him to pop up.
That would be crazy.
And then I also need Tom Cruise Iron Man, who was just a rumor. I need that. I need everything in order for me to walk away from Secret Wars being like, yeah, that was everything it should have been. That was everything it could have been was in that movie. And to me, that will equal a successful, like, they stuck the landing. If it's not that, because I walked out of Doctor Strange 2 being like, they left so much on the table. Yeah, okay, they gave us John Krasinski, Reed Richards. I don't care. I mean,
especially since he's not actually going to
I was going to say, first of all, I didn't want him as a cameo. I wanted him to be my Reed Richards, like, in the Fantastic Four. So you already bummed me out with that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, that was all? Like, that's all we get? Dude, they were in the multiverse. There was so much we could have said. You could have done a whole section of that movie where they're, like, animated. And it would have made sense because it's a universe.
I was actually going to say they should bring Miles Morales from the Into the Spider-Verse.
I'm telling, like, there's so much they can do. And the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie kind of touched a little more on, like, what I think it should be. Like, how they had Donald Glover in there dressed as the Prowler in one of the cages. Mm-hmm. And then they had, like, the Spider-Man from the PS4 game in there. They had the Spot open up the thing and peek his head, and he's in the Venom movie, like, universe, talking to Miss Chang or whatever. All of that, I was like, okay. The Lego Bugle building and everything, I was like, okay. This is what I want to see, some unique perspective shifts. I want to see some character, like, that's what I want. I want things that have and have not ever existed. Things that I never thought of. I never would have thought, oh, crap. Like, yeah, they hinted at it in Homecoming, like Donald Glover, the Prowler. Okay, I want to see stuff like that. That's what it would take for me for Secret Wars. And like I said, honestly, that's something I might start working on, like a little thing, and get it written out or printed out or something, and talk to you about how I think it should be broken down. Just
sure.
As like an episode one day, but probably wait till we get closer to that, because first of all, it would take some time, but second of all, it feels like a little preemptive. I don't even think we have we haven't even seen Fantastic Four yet.
Yeah.
The bottom line is Robert Downey, it was a bold move to get him to be Doctor Doom. I mean, that, I wish I could explain to you in a way that you would understand from, like, a comic reader's perspective how important of a character Doctor Doom is to, like, all of Marvel, not just the Fantastic, like, all of Marvel, and especially in Secret Wars. He's like the guy. I mean, even in, like, the 80s version, the Beyonder, like, sets it all off, but by the end of it, Doctor Doom is, like, usurped him and, like, taken over, and now he's running Battleworld. The 2015 version, which is probably what they're going to pull more from, he just is the guy. Like, I don't even think the Beyonder is a thing. He's just God Emperor Doom, and he just creates Battleworld, and he's like, boom, go fight. I mean, like, he's the dude. To go with the original face of your franchise and recast him as the bad, like, not a bad guy, the bad guy, it's either going to be looked at by the end as one of the most brilliant things they've ever done, or the moment where this all started going bad. I promise you, by the end of it, it'll be one of the two.
You know, every time I start to feel like I'm getting burnt out on MCU and I'm just getting a little tired of this superhero movies, I have a chat with you. And I start thinking, wow, I'm interested now. Like, well, I mean, you raised the stakes so high. It's like, geez, the whole franchise hinges on this Avengers secret. When, like, I've seen a few hints at stuff online too, where I'm like, this sounds pretty interesting. And then, you know, they, like, I don't want to hype it up too much. They very mildly allude to Daredevil being in the MCU, but in ways they didn't in the original show. But also, it's just enough to make you be like, oh boy, is something going to happen in this show that I really want to happen? Which probably it won't. And then I'm going to be like...
No, I mean, yeah, we should see Daredevil and, like, Punisher and Elektra. We should see all of it. All these things should happen in Secret Wars.
Dude, Ben Affleck's Daredevil should have to fight Matt Murdock's.
He should show up. Yeah. Like, if we got Jennifer Gardner's Elektra in Deadpool and Wolverine, we need Ben Affleck.
What? I didn't see the movie.
Oh my God, I am so sorry.
I
thought you saw it.
No, it's okay. I'm not gonna see it.
Oh, okay.
But so I've already looked up a whole bunch of spoilers.
Okay.
So you're not spoiling anything for me. I didn't realize she showed up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He's in the Void, and when they're, like, at their low point, they form a little team. They get, basically, him and Wolverine fight, and they fight to, I mean, they can't die, so they fight to a point where they're just both, like, basically knocked out from, like, exhaustion. And all of a sudden, the car that they were fighting in, like, starts driving away as they're passing out. And you're like, who the heck is driving the car? Turns out it's X-23 from Logan, the girl, his clone or whatever. She drives them to this cave, and they form a team with her, Wesley Snipes' Blade,
Oh, wow.
Jennifer Gardner's Elektra, Channing Tatum.
Yeah, I knew about him.
Gambit.
Oh boy, I'm finna make a name for myself.
I'm finna make a name for myself in hell. Yeah, all of them, and I want to say there was another one, but I can't remember. But yeah, all of them, they all form a team and go storm the like bad lady's place. Yeah, they go do that, and then I mean it was cool, and see that's my point. Stuff like that, and like taking advantage of like the audience expecting. So I know you say you haven't seen it, you're not going to, but you know that Chris Evans, the Human Torch, shows up in it. Have you seen the scene?
I saw a scene where he's like in cuffs or something in like a trailer. They're driving down a road, and it's kind of funny. And then I saw a scene where he died.
Yeah, not that. So what happens is when him and when Deadpool and Wolverine first show up in the Void, they're like fighting. Pretty much just a theme through the movie. They hate each other. But I mean, that's how it is in the comics. Like, Wolverine cannot stand Deadpool because he's so the straight guy, like serious, angry, and Deadpool's like a complete idiot who won't shut up. So, like, they're always at odds. And this movie did a really good job of displaying that, but still having some heart in it. But they get in this, like, massive fight in one of the coolest set pieces. You're in the Void from Loki's show, and, like, the freaking Fox Century logo is staged up behind them in the Void because Fox doesn't like exist anymore. I mean, it's just brilliant stuff. But anyway, at one point, you hear someone yell for them to stop fighting, and like we don't need to be fighting ourselves. We need to fight our common enemy. And they look up, and you recognize that it's Chris Evans' voice, and he's in like the blue jumpsuit, like the Captain America looking thing, but he's got like a kind of like, it almost looks like a burlap sack, but I mean it's not, it's like that kind of material, but it's like a scarf shawl thing, and it's over his chest and shoulders and wrapped around his head to like hide his face, but you know who it is. And he drops down, and Deadpool's like, that's a superhero landing, oh my gosh, like blah, blah. And he's like, he's fanboying because Deadpool loves Captain America, like he loves him.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he's a huge fanboy, like even in the comics he adores him. And so they're like talking or whatever, and he's looking at them, and he kind of like pulls the thing off so you see his face, and people are cheering. And then the bad guys start showing up, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna have to stand together, and then I'll tell you more or whatever. And he turns around and he's like, oh my gosh, he's gonna say it. And he goes to start talking, he goes, Avengers, and Chris Evans is like, flame on! And he's like, what? And then he takes off into the sky, and people lost it. The beauty behind that is, as an audience member, even though I went into this, A, knowing he's played Human Torch, and B, knowing that it was like a speculative thing that he might show up as the Human Torch, seeing him just in the blue, which is also a Fantastic Four color, my first thought was, oh, cool, they got Cap back, because everyone's been wanting Cap. And yeah, it makes sense, because Deadpool, I never once, even to the point where he yells flame on, my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
Because they wrote it so well that even people who might have been on their trail with what they were doing, they probably threw most everyone off. So cool. Moments like that should happen in a movie that big. Like they absolutely should happen in a movie that big. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it could possibly go down in history as one of the biggest movies ever. I think it could also go down in history as like, God, remember when Marvel almost did the thing. Like,
remember when they pulled the Gamecocks?
Yeah, they got so close. But yeah, I mean, you know, I can't take anything away from them. You know me, I'm at times almost somewhat of like a MCU apologist, sometimes to a fault. But I mean,
you're simultaneously argue against them and for them. Like you always have so much more that you hate about the movies than I do, and then you also are the main reason I keep watching them. It's really weird because like Endgame, for instance, like I came out of that, I was like, that was cool, and then I talked to you about it, and I'm like, dude, you make all these points that make me feel like it sucks, and then
but then like you were talking to me about Cap 4, and like
Yeah.
Like one of your biggest things was like, I just don't think he should have been Cap. I think Bucky should have been. And I was like, well, here's all the reasons that wouldn't have worked.
Well, no. I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought that. Oh, you were saying it was what someone online said.
That's what a lot of people online said. I hear that all the time. It's like Bucky should have been Cap, and I was like, yeah, but I get why he chose Falcon.
I think they both would have worked. I mean, I love Bucky to death, but I'm very interested to see Thunderbolts though. Like, especially after he popped up in Cap 4.
As like a congressman?
Yeah, I'm like super intrigued to know how he goes from that to getting tied in with that BS. Like that sounds really cool. And I'm hoping we get a little snifferoo by the end of the new Avengers and how that's going.
Yeah, I'm really all the stuff you're telling me about Secret Wars has got me very intrigued, and I'm like wanting to see. That's one of the reasons I'm like itching to see more of this Daredevil show, because I'm really hoping, like they've made some really tiny hints that if they don't like do anything else with them, it won't change the integrity of the show, but it's just enough to where now I'm like, are you going to bring someone into this show that I really want you to bring into, or are you going to do something like this? Or so yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think that's maybe what one of our main topics should be the next time we meet up, is like talking about which should be next week if you're free. That's one I'll be able to do. So I will make sure to watch what has been released up to that point, and
there'll be a new episode by the time. So it'll be 4 episodes that you'll have to watch between now and then.
I'm very intrigued
because of what I've told you about it.
Yeah, like not like I really thought you were overwhelmingly positive on it, but even hearing some of your complaints about it, not like it intrigues me, because like sometimes being mixed on something is actually more interesting than it just being like this is straight up good or straight up bad. Like sometimes it's like, oh well, is that gonna, like you're talking about like the cinematography and stuff, which is important to me, but I'm like, if I don't like the writing or what they're doing with the characters, is that going to pull me as much as it seems to be pulling Daniel? Like, it seems to be one of your saving graces for it right now, is like it just looks so good.
No. The writing is mixed too. It's like I said, it's like at the end of every episode so far, there has been a twist or something that happens where my jaw's on the floor. And I'm like, whoa, I can't believe they did that.
I want to ask you a question, but I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Well, let me finish this thought, and then I'll let you ask the question, and then we probably have to wrap up after that. But I didn't bring any wrapping paper.
Dang it.
Anyways, lame joke. Moving on. So the writing has also been mixed too. Like there's really good twists, there's really good intrigue, there's really good mystery, which is stuff that you're going to like about it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. As someone who, you're like a hardcore mystery fan, so the mystery might be very subpar for you, but there's enough mystery where I'm like, all right, we'll see where this leads.
Yeah.
And it's like there's been introduction of characters that I've liked, but there have also been things I've really not liked. What they have done with certain characters, the way certain characters I thought would be villains and heroes that I thought would be, and when I say heroes, I'm not necessarily talking about superheroes, but characters that I thought would be way more crucial to the show, even earlier on. Some of them have hardly been in it at all, and they're making it seem like they might not even come back for the show, which is just, I don't know if that's the case yet, but it's like, what the heck? I mean, so yeah, there's been a lot of disappointments, but a lot of intrigue and a lot of good stuff. And if the stuff that they hint at and the way that they kind of set up how this is going, and I don't mean that, I'm trying to be careful with how I say it. I'm not trying to hype it up too much, like they've really implied something big is happening. It's like I said, there's just enough to where they don't have to follow through with it, but I really hope they do. Mm-hmm. There's just enough intrigue to where, wait, what am I trying to say? I lost my train of thought. That's not the sentence I wanted to start saying. Anyways, yeah, so that's basically it. The writing has done both things. The cinematography, I have zero complaints about. It's really cool the way it looks, and the fight scenes, the way they're shot. Like well, I'm not going to say that because that might spoil something. So,
okay,
what's the question you wanted to ask me?
Well, now it's kind of split, but it deals with the same thing. First of all, did you know that? Have you heard about the Punisher getting the limited presentation or whatever Marvel presentation that they're doing?
No.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Have you seen like the Guardians Christmas special or the Wolf Werewolf by Midnight or any?
I saw the first half of the Guardians Christmas special because I just saw it on Disney Plus, and then I had to go do something and I forgot about it. But I haven't seen the other one.
Well, they're doing like these Marvel presentations. It's like this kind of one-off thing that they kind of put like a lot of effort into, almost like a one episode, like one shot thing. It's pretty cool. The Christmas special I really enjoyed. I thought it was cute. It was funny. I never did get to see the Werewolf by Midnight one, but people said it was really good. But they're doing one for Punisher, and John Bernthal is actually helping write it. So
that's cool.
And I don't know if you know like about him in this character, but he like, it's like a passion project for him. So like he's very much wanting to stick to the heart of like the character, and like it's going to be edgy, it's going to be gritty, it's going to be like the real deal. And he said that the script for it is turning out really good. So I didn't know if you knew about that, because I know we both have an appreciation for the Punisher character. I'm really excited about that. Aside from that, I'm going to ask you this: if it delves too much into spoileriness,
okay,
you can just tell me. We'll talk about it later. But what's the deal with like? How do you feel about the cops having the Punisher skull tattooed on their necks in the show?
Well, shoot, man, you like, how do you know about that? I feel like you just spoiled it for a lot of. Is that already online? Like, it's common knowledge if you haven't seen the show.
I mean, well, first of all, for most people, I'm late to the view. Like, most people who are going to watch it have seen it.
That's fair.
That's why the images are circulate. Like, there's conversations about it online.
Well, I can't really say how I feel about it because I might spoil something.
Okay.
Well, but I'll say when they first popped up, I was super intrigued. I was like, what? So here's my guess. I'm trying to figure out if I can say this without spoiling anything.
Well, if you're unsure, I'd rather just wait till next week. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay. Yeah. We might just cut that part out.
No, we don't. It's fine. Y'all can suck it up. I'm
okay.
just kidding.
Yeah, I mean it's not like we have millions of people watching. I mean,
that's true.
That's
yeah.
fair.
But you also make a good point. Is like, I'm only not spoiling it for you. I mean, it's been out for a while, but we did also warn. We said there would be no spoilers.
Yeah,
but that's not such a big spoiler that it's going to ruin the show. So we might just leave.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, I have no context for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, as far as like his logo being used, it happened already in season 2 of Punisher. So I mean, to me, that's nothing new. Other than that, I mean, so yeah, I guess there's more to it that I just don't understand, and that's where we start with getting into spoiler territory. So,
all right. Well, that was a great episode.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty chill and cash.
Yeah. Well, you just ruined it with those abbreviations, but
chill is not an abbreviation.
Cash, though.
Cash, yeah, like cash.
So anyway. No, that was good. We talked about, our movie theaters dead?
Or dying.
Will we even see movie theaters? We talked about
little Daredevil.
Gamecocks.
Little Gamecocks.
We actually did talk about football.
I'm going to start making that a segment, because in the fall, y'all are going to hate me. I'm going to be...
Yeah. I am too, because I want to talk about screen stuff. It's screen woven, okay?
They're on a screen.
That's a really good rebuttal. No further questions, Your Honor.
We talked little Secret Wars.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't talk about was the thing I said we would talk about at the beginning, which is
that's
the movies
true.
we're anticipating going into.
All right, let's really quickly list them.
Oh, I have a list.
We can't talk about them. Just pop them off.
Okay.
Because we're out of time.
I mean, you got your obvious, your Fantastic Four,
yeah.
Superman,
yeah,
Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Personally, I know how you feel about these. I'm actually I'm open-minded, optimistic to see the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie and the Lilo and Stitch live action.
Yeah.
The first trailer came out, I think, yesterday, and it looked really cute. The thing I've hated about these live action reboots is they take all the heart and soul out of them. Like the Lion King one was like so colorless and joyless, and the music was gone. I'm like, what is this? Isn't even Lion King. Call it something else. But the Lilo and Stitch, they were playing the Elvis song in the trailer, and he looks awesome. They actually made him like blue, and he pops out. I'm like, okay, I can give that a shot. And How to Train Your Dragon, if you've never seen those, you're sleeping because those are good
Those are
movies.
fantastic movies.
Wake Up Dead Man.
Okay.
You know that?
No.
The new Knives Out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? When's that coming out?
No official date, but it is supposed to be this year.
Dude, we'll have to go see that together.
If it's in theaters.
Oh, that's true. But we can still see it together.
Yeah. This one I'm not quite as optimistic about because I didn't like the second one, but I loved the first one, so I'm still going to watch Now You See Me 3.
Okay.
If they go back to their heist roots and it's more of an actual heist movie than a whatever the second one was, I'm going to love it. Nobody 2.
I didn't know there was a Nobody one.
You never seen Nobody?
No, I think nobody's seen it.
Oh, people saw it. Dude, that's what, okay. The law-abiding.
What's Nobody about?
What's that guy's name? Let me Google. But the premise is it's a dude who used to be like, we're talking like top secret, covert, redacted. Nobody. His name is Nobody officially. Like he doesn't exist. He was in the military. Oh wait, not that. He now has like a family. He got out of all that stuff to have a family, and Bob Odenkirk, that's his name. I'm almost positive this is who plays Saul in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, that guy.
Interesting. Okay.
He was in the military, super like covert, like a John Wick type, like just bad to the bone.
Yeah.
Good at what he did kind of thing. Gets out of it, gets a family, blah, blah, blah. And now like his whole family thinks he's like a loser. He's always getting the trash out late and like spilling stuff, and he's like, he's lost his edge. And then some things happen, and I don't want to say too much because I am bringing that movie here and we are watching it. That is one of my favorite movies.
Wow. Okay.
It is so good. He kind of gets wrapped back up in that lifestyle a little bit, and it's dude. I'm telling you, you will like that movie.
All right.
Yeah,
you've sold me.
You will like that movie.
Was that the end of your list?
Well, yeah, I think so. Nobody.
I only have one that I'm.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Okay, I just have one. Karate Kid Legends. I am so stoked for that movie.
We did see a trailer for that last night. That really, maybe it was just again theaters, man. There's something about theaters, but hearing it on those the big drums and stuff and the score and seeing it on that level, I was like, yeah, that looked pretty good.
It looks so good.
It looked pretty good.
One of the reasons is because Cobra Kai, the last season came out. We finally finished it, and it is the most satisfying ending to anything, any TV show. I'm not going to say any film too, because Lord of the Rings was pretty satisfying, but
at least I've seen that.
The way everything that I could have possibly dreamed of as far as what the characters accomplished, what they went through, their arc, their complete story, it made even all of the characters that I thought were annoying in teen drama, it made me love them. I was like, I'm just sold. It was such a good ending.
You're going to make me watch Cobra Kai.
Dude, Cobra Kai is so good, but you don't have to, but you should watch the first 3 original Karate Kid movies.
Oh, come on. I've seen those.
Oh, you've seen those. Okay.
Classics.
Dude, the Cobra Kai puts such a spin on that whole universe. That was just like so good. The way I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to spoil it, but the ending was like so good. It was so good.
Okay.
It wasn't like this like epic, like conclusion of the Lord of the Rings thing where it's like this huge epic battle. It was just the characters they all finished their journey well.
Yeah.
In such a way that I loved every single one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I might have to check that out.
Dude, so good.
I need you to watch Severance.
I can't access it. I don't have Apple TV and I'm broke. So if we get enough viewers, we'll set up a Patreon just so I can watch Severance.
I mean, I could log into it here, but there'd have to be like, I think they've cracked down on account sharing too. So like, I'd have to be here every time we watch it. But if we could ever find time to like, hey, we're gonna watch like half a season, like 3 or 4. I think 4 episodes is half a season. knock them out and then review first half of season 1, then review back half of season 1, stuff like that, I would love to converse with you in depth about the world of Severance.
Okay.
Anywho.
Okay.
But yeah, that's another good one to add to the list. I think we're gonna have a good few to kind of spread out throughout the year and go watch together. Is that one you want to watch together, Karate Kid?
Only if you've seen Cobra Kai, but I don't know if you're gonna have time because that's 6 seasons.
Does it tie in that much? I didn't know that. I mean, I know
you're gonna have to see. You're gonna have to see Daniel LaRusso's character arc to understand how he's gonna be in this movie. From my prediction.
Okay.
Because he's not the same character that came out of Karate Kid 3. And he is, but he's learned and grown so much. Okay. Like he's almost, I don't know. I don't want to say too much without spoiling it, but I feel like you're not gonna really get everything out of Legends that you could unless you watch Cobra Kai.
Interesting. Okay. I'll have to
at least watch like the first 3 to 5 seasons. I mean, 3 to 4 seasons. It's 6 seasons long.
Just watch all the show. At least
really, that's what you should do.
Thing. At least. No, that's fine. I mean, it's not something I've been opposed to. It just, I think I even started it once, and I didn't like fall with it. I don't know.
Oh man. Well, I don't know, because I was hooked from the start. The way they like flipped the script. On a lot of things.
Like I know, like the bad kid from the first movie. He's like down on his luck and. He's living in this, and like LaRusso is like some car salesman. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I won a karate championship," and it's like kind of flips it where it's like he's not really a bad guy, but he's, I guess, kind of like dislikable a little bit, and you feel bad for this dude, like he peaked in high school kind of thing. And I got that part of it, and I thought that was clever, but it's not that I didn't even like it. I just kind of bounced off of it a little bit. I just was like, I'll watch it at some point. And I just never got back to it. But yeah, I'll check it out. I feel like that's one that would be big enough to where it'd be worth reviewing on here for sure.
For sure.
But
all right, well, thanks so much for tuning in today.
Yeah, thanks guys. Like I said, Screen Woven. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, YouTube. I think the Gram is back up.
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't been on it.
Okay. Well,
I thought that was you.
Well, yeah, but you had gotten it back, so I didn't know.
Oh.
I know we got it back. For some reason, it got like banned right after we opened it, and then Daniel went through some stuff and got it back. So I have to check and see if everything's been updated on it. But regardless, hopefully by the time you're seeing this, be sure to check us out. Give us a follow on Instagram as well. And then, like he said, we're also on Apple Podcasts. So be sure to spread the word if you enjoy what you're hearing. We plan to continue, and like I said, I think it's going to be a really big year for movies and shows, so I'm very excited to see what else we get to talk about.
Yep,
but until I'm excited next time,
too. Catch you later.